Welcome to GBIRL, the podcast looking at the real business world of esports, gaming, and streaming with the people and personalities behind it all. Here is your host, Bill the Conqueror.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. There are times in gaming where gaming, is your life, and it becomes you bond with friends that you will never see in real life, but you see them in video calls, and you hang out with them online and in Discord, and those people become extremely close to you. And those people become friends, the people that you care about, and then something happens in life that kind of puts everything into perspective, and it could be, your kid and you bond over an experience, or your family comes together around gaming. I have said multiple times, gaming brings hope. Gaming bridges the gap across generations. Gaming introduces you to people you probably would never meet in the first place, and that's this guy you see on the screen right there, RocCity Roller. I met Rock probably a little over a year ago. I want to say about a year ago.
Yeah,
it's something like that.
Maybe about that.
We got connected through a Gambit Prime competition where your team stomped the crap out of my team, and then it literally wasn't even close. And then
Wow.
You guys just literally stomped the crap out of us. Beat us.
We prepped that was the one that was run by Magic Unicorn and Big Daddy Teej.
Yep.
And I remember it was Monday, and I talked to my team. We were playing Destiny like we normally do. And I'm like, oh, we got that Gambit Prime tournament. I'm like, everybody's got Gambit armor, right? We're like, no. We're like, we should probably get that. We just started farming reckoning, trying to get off the Gambit Prime armor to drop.
Right. And
oh man.
Yeah, it's been a while. And then you bond over Destiny 2, and you bond over other things, and now it's the running joke in your Discord. Whenever I show up in a voice chat. Hey, am I muffled this time? And so but
which the funny thing is I have no idea where that came from, whether I wasn't there for that night or I missed it. I have no idea how that originated, but it's lived on for years.
So basically what happened was I think it was Jello. So we were in a voice chat, and it was the first or second time we'd ever talked. And of course, I stutter. And so he kept asking me to repeat myself. And finally I said, can you hear me? He goes, I don't know, man, you're muffled. And then I finally got the joke. And I go, so whenever I go into a voice chat with anybody in Discord, I just want to make sure that I'm not muffled right now. And so it's just the ongoing meme. And so I wanted to learn some more about you, because you have some personal life situations that I think are very important to delve into, about your wife, your kid, your family, your job, some of the things that have happened to you. Before I get started there, I want to get into your journey as a creator. I mean, some people think that there's a definite start date when you're a quote unquote creator. Some people think I just start making stuff and it just kind of goes from there. Is there a point that you can look at and go, yeah, it was probably that moment right there where I decided, or I became a streamer, a creator?
I mean, I think it's hard, because how do you define creator, right?
Right.
Because now that word has come to so much of a business sense. Whereas I remember being in college and playing, I don't know if you remember the old EA Skate games. So it was Skate 1, Skate 2, and Skate 3. They were on the Xbox. Yeah. And I used to make videos with my friends on that, and we put them up on YouTube, and we'd share them on all the forums. This is back when message boards were a thing. And nobody at that point, nobody was thinking about, oh man, I got to get that ad revenue on YouTube, or, oh, I'm getting, I need to monetize my channel. We were just doing it for fun. And that was kind of when I started the idea of sharing content on the internet.
Right.
But I don't think it was until I started streaming that I really was like, hey, like this is kind of interesting to do, and it can also be a side hustle. That's kind of a cool concept. You know, let me kind of dive into it a little bit.
Well, okay, so you're saying that you started feeling like a creator when you started to stream. So there has to be a moment in time where you have the realization, I want to do this. This is something I actually want to do. I mean, there's a big difference between you and three friends, you know, having...
Sure.
There's a big difference between you and three friends just, you know, making a stupid video and putting it on YouTube versus actually doing something with it, right?
Right. And so, like, I had streamed before because... you know, I had a good friend that we played Destiny with, which if you're in our Discord at Hawks Guy,
Yep.
and I've known him since Crota days, right? And he used to travel a lot for work, so like we would play game all weekend, and then Monday through Thursday he was traveling for work. And so what I used to do is I used to stream to Twitch so that he could watch as the rest of us were playing games and still be in like the voice call and like be involved, right? That's how I learned how to like stream, but like that wasn't like creating content. I was just kind of sharing it so that somebody could enjoy it. When you ever seen the skateboarding game Session? When that first was announced on Kickstarter, that was when I actually made the decision that I was going to start streaming, because like I said, we played a whole bunch of the skate games in the past.
Right.
At that point, even back then, there was a pretty good community around those games. Right. And I had connections in that community. I'm like, hey, this new game's coming out. Like, if I can get the word out, like maybe I can bring that whole community and like reconnect with old friends that I haven't seen in, you know, years or whatever. And so I started streaming it then. And that was when I was like, well, maybe I can use this as like build exposure for the game, but like also start to build like kind of like a channel type of thing and this and that. And that was when I really started like focusing on it. And I started on Twitch, and then obviously over to Mixer, where I ended up meeting, you know, Magic Unicorn and Tej.
Right.
And then when we came, you know, I came back over to Twitch, and you know that's how we ended up meeting was through them. So yeah, it was kind of a crazy story, but like that would definitely be like at the point where I decided like I wanted to like build a community and like create content in almost like a business format. Right. That was, I think, when I started to consider myself a quote unquote creator.
Okay. And with any business, it doesn't matter, streaming, you're selling flowers, you're making plastic boxes. It doesn't matter what you choose to do. You have to know your why. So I guess that's my next question is, why do you stream? Why? So
I think that's changed a lot over the past couple of years, and I'm to that like later in the conversation.
Sure.
But originally, like my why was, you know, trying to find a way to better support my family.
Okay.
You know, without taking myself away from my family, right? Like,
yeah,
the traditional idea of, well, work 80 hours a week to make more money, like it didn't make sense to me, because I was like, I'm making the money to take care of my family, to spend time with my family, but I have to do that by being away from my family.
Right.
So like at the time, I used to have a side business that I worked with my dad, and in the summers we would install in-ground sprinkler systems on the weekends. So we'd go to people's houses, and you know, we'd do a couple jobs every weekend. But that meant that throughout the whole summer, like I was working 7 days a week.
Right.
Because I was working my normal job Monday through Friday, and then so, you know, as I started creating content, I started to build the following and started to build some communities. I was like, my reason, like why am I going to keep doing this is because if I can supplement what I was making working 7 days a week and working those weekends with something like a Twitch or YouTube, right? And that lets me spend 2 extra days with my kid and my wife, right? And so that's like, I think that has really been like was the biggest push like back then.
See, it's really interesting that you say that, because at the recent news, you have Dr. Lupo going to YouTube full time on a contract. You have Tim the Tap Man doing the same,
right?
And both of their reasons were the same. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to be. I still want to make content, but YouTube gives YouTube gives the option of having legacy content. Twitch does not. Twitch is a live broadcasting platform from start to finish. That's it. That's all they are.
Right.
And YouTube.
That's what they were built as.
Right. Exactly. And that's totally fine. But then you have YouTube that started off as a video platform. You create videos and you post and evolve their streaming piece. And I think it's really interesting because I think that there's an overarching narrative on Twitch that you have to grind 12 hours a day, 6 days a week to get anywhere on Twitch. And the fact that you realized I can work 7 days a week for all this money to spend time with my family, but I can't spend time with my family because I'm working 7 days a week and I get all this money. And I'm like, what the actual hell am I doing, right?
It's literally just the Twitch perpetuation of that like old manufacturing like thought cycle of just well, if you need more money, then just do more work.
Right.
Well, maybe that's not the best way to do it.
Well, okay, and so that for you has turned into a lot of things. I mean, like you have a partnership, and you're wearing the hat right now, aren't you? You have a partnership with Guardians Mental Health, right?
Yeah. I've worked with Guardians Mental Health since before they were called Guardians Mental Health.
Yep.
So I knew Joe. I think back in like the Destiny 1 days.
Wow.
And at that time, they were talking about something that originally was called the Saint 14 Project.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Which, same concept, right? They wanted to provide, mental health education and information and support and build communities to provide these types of tools and resources and support to the gaming industries, which I mean, we've all seen it with our own groups and our own friends, right? Like mental health is definitely a big problem these days. And the pandemic and all the strife that goes along with that hasn't helped that situation at all, right? And we see it in our friends. And a lot of times, like with people working from home and then gaming, they're sitting at their computers for 10, 15 hours a day.
Yep.
Right? And that wears down on you.
Yeah.
So being able to like really like go for the gaming communities has been, a big push for them. So that was D1 because I remember the first charity stream I did with them. They had asked me to join, and we did Crucible custom matches in D1.
Wow. So
it was still D1 times, and I was on Xbox.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that was when we got involved, and then after that, it was just anytime that they were looking for people for charity streams, like they'd reach out. And, I've always been a huge supporter of them. And then my time on Mixer, I got lucky enough to hook up with the right people. And we started kind of like a little stream team, but ended up building a huge community out of it. And I had actually reached back out to Guardians Mental Health probably about 1.5 2 years ago. And they actually helped us build out a peer support system within our Discord. Right, to understand like the kind of channels that we needed and how to get like the right resources to people, so that people within our own community, if like they're having an issue, like they could go to a channel and share their story, or they could go to a channel and say, hey, I need someone to talk to, and like somebody would jump in and talk to them, or being able to use the RTS bot, which is the real-time support bot that Guardians Mental Health has developed and designed, and it works in Twitch chats, it works in Discords, but same thing, people can now use that bot to like grab. Like you're having an anxiety attack, you send a message, exclamation point anxiety, right? And it's gonna send you a whole bunch of resources, from actual psychologists, not just your friend in the Discord, right? Like you're getting real good resources right away from the comfort of your own home in a community that you're already comfortable in, right? You don't have to go into a brand new Discord to find this stuff now. It's in your favorite Twitch channel. It's in your favorite Discord server. Yeah. And being able to build out support directly that way.
See, and I, I found Guardians Mental Health about 1.5 years ago too. I did an interview with Joe and Dr. Goku, two awesome individuals. And then I got the real privilege to interview Dr. Goku, Dr. Bean, and and Dr. Kelly. And I got I got all three of them into one call at once. And I'm like, hey, 3 PhDs. I only have an MBA. I feel like a real, I don't feel like I belong in this conversation. But I mean, having those three together.
What a fascinating group of people.
Dude, I gotta say, Dr. Kelly is, he's one of the most unique doctors I have ever come across. I mean, I've met a lot of interesting people in my life, but for somebody as educated and as trained as he is, I mean, he's not just smart, but he's trained in such a fashion, and then to be the kind of person with his energy, it is rare. Very rare to run into a guy like that. Very rare. I gotta say, I honestly wish I could have all three of them back on, whether it's one at a time or all three at once, because it was like one of the best interviews that I've ever done. And I don't
know how. Like, I don't know the story about how it all came about.
Yeah.
But they've built the most diverse and competent team. Yeah. At Guardians Mental Health, right? Like, there's people that are really good at a whole bunch of different stuff, and it makes them such a well-rounded team that works so well together. Yeah, and it's incredible the stuff that they get done. And I mean, they're still working, like they're still pushing, right? There's new mental health kits coming out. Yep. Right. There's some big stuff coming up in the next couple of months, and it's like they're just getting stuff done, and they're providing these amazing resources.
Yeah, and the great thing about them is it while their skills overlap, their skills also complement each other. Yeah, because you have a Dr. Bean. He works on the therapeutic side. I did an interview with a master's level therapist, and she took the Geek Therapeutics certification. Yep. And that, I mean, because I wanted to know, does it actually work? Does it actually serve you as a therapist? I mean, I'm sure they get sent garbage all the time. Try this, do this, hey, think about this. Sure. But I want to know, does this actually work for you in real life? And she's like, yeah, it definitely helped me a couple different ways. And I'm like, this is fantastic stuff. And then you have Dr. Kelly. His expertise is on the streamer side, helping streamers not only with their mental health, but to recognize when people in their chat are having issues, how to deal with it, and this is an issue that streamers deal with. People come to your chat and they take their frustrations and they just throw them at you. You're like, wait, I'm not your therapist there, Chief. But but they're also like, let's give these streamers some tools to say, okay, here's a direction you can go, here's a way you can go, because obviously if you go into someone's chat and feel like you need to do that, you trust that person enough.
Exactly.
And so it's then that streamer finding the line of, okay, this is not my job, but I can still help you. I know where to send you. Right. And that in and of itself is a monstrous tool, because you're not only helping the individual, but you're helping the streamer you're giving that streamer tools, not only for their own well-being. It's like, hey, I just streamed the past 14 days for 6 to 8 hours a day. I need a break because, I see this stuff happening. Dude, I tell you, man, that I have not streamed in about 6 months for a very specific reason, and that grind on Twitch can get brutal. It can really get brutal. And then the third piece of that, you have Dr. Goku. He's the one that came up with the bot, right?
Yeah.
Right. So he comes up with that bot to give you the resources. You type in exclamation point anxiety, exclamation point of depression. That it's that sort of stuff that they all kind of come together with, and I want to get them back on the podcast. And now that we've gone off on this tangent about all this stuff,
it's all good things, though.
Yes, it's all good things. Speaking of,
I will never stop anybody from talking about Guardians Mental Health, because I think it's a great organization.
Well, and one of my favorite quotes that I ever got from Dr. Goku. We're talking about talking about Joe, and he had an incident with his neighbor. He had an incident with his neighbor, and his neighbor just lost his mind on Joe's fence. I literally blew his stack on Joe's fence, and Joe, being the awesome human being that he is,
right,
realized what was going on and started talking to the guys like, "Hey, are you okay?" And he formed he formed enough of a relationship with the guy to get the guy to talk about it, and so I was, and so we're on stream talking about this with Dr. Goku, and he's going through an explanation. But what he said to me has always resonated with me. He says, everybody has a glass. It can be a big glass, it can be a small glass, and everybody has a glass, and the stuff that happens to you fills that glass with drops of various sizes. And where people get burned out is they always think they have to hold their glass up, and their arm, after a while, after you're holding it up, your arm gets tired and you get frustrated. He said to me, it's okay to put down the glass and talk about it.
Yeah.
It's okay. And I'm like, that quote will literally stick in my head for the rest of my life. It's okay.
And that's honestly, I think, the hardest step to make.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Like once you get over that step, right? And then you start to realize that, okay, I need help, I need to do this stuff. I think it gets easier after that.
Yeah.
But like making that first step, because there's so many reasons why you can't, or you shouldn't, or you don't need to worry about it.
Right.
And you can make yourself enough reasons to not do it.
Yeah.
But once you get over that hump, you're like, you're there. I'm here. Like that's let's talk about this.
Speaking of talking about things, you recently I won't say recently. At one point, you revealed to me something very, very important in your life. You have health issues, and you said that you have a brain tumor. You told me that, and you told some other people that, and so we're talking about mental health and streaming and how gaming affects our lives. When you first got that diagnosis, when you were first told, this is what's going on, and hopefully the doctor, when they told you, were just straight with you. It's like, look, this is the situation. This is where you're at. When you first got that diagnosis, what happened?
So it's kind of an interesting story, because it was like, going back to mental health, like it was like kind of a 2-part series. So I had been having headaches for a long time, eye pain for a long time. I mean, anybody, if people followed me, like I've been very open about this, so I'm not like revealing anything that's not, out there.
Right.
And so finally, after treating it with a bunch of different things like chiropractor, PT, this and that, they're like, well, you might as well just go get an MRI and see if we can see anything. And so I went and got an MRI. And about 2 days later, I remember I was sitting at work in a conference room, because I was at one of the plants that I'm not normally at. So I just sitting in a conference room, I got a phone call. I answered it. And they told me what they thought it was. And essentially they thought it was a tumor that was on the protective covering of my brain. And that they had to, forwarded me to a specialist that'll take a look at it and figure out treatment options. And hung up the phone, processed it for like, I don't know, 10-15 seconds. Like it's a very surreal feeling to like hear that.
Right.
And I pretty much like texted my wife, and I was like, so they found a tumor on my brain. I'll be home in a little bit. And then I texted my boss and I said, hey, I just got some pretty unfortunate health news. I'm gonna go home. And she was like, all right, yeah, whatever. And from there, like, we had a week of like some really tough times, right? Because the tumor that they originally diagnosed me with was like a 75% survival past 5 years.
Okay.
And 75%, like, if you were talking about your chances of winning the lottery, seem massive. But when it's talking about being able to live long enough to see your child go to school or,
Right.
Go off to college, 75% doesn't seem like that high of a number.
Right.
And so like, you do want to talk about like mental health stuff. Like I had a week there.
Yeah.
But like it was brutal, right?
Yep.
Like I was trying to figure out if I needed to like record a version of the song that I sing my son every night before bed, so that he would have it for posterity's sake. And so about a week later, I had an appointment with a neurosurgeon, and they asked me to go for blood work beforehand. So I did, and I figured, everything I looked at was either brain surgery, chemotherapy, radiation type of stuff. Like those were the options. And I remember sitting in the neurosurgeon's office waiting to be taken in. My wife had come to the appointment with me, and we were, everything's online now, right? So like my test results had been online and those things. We're looking, and like, a couple of the hormones in my body were like extremely high and others were extremely low. Like, well, that seems kind of weird. We'll have to ask about that. So we get in there, and instead of seeing a neurosurgeon, we had an endocrinologist come in, and she explained to me that what they had thought was a tumor on the meningioma, I think it's called. It was actually on my pituitary gland, and one of the portions of my pituitary gland had become overproducing, and it had started just pumping out tons of hormones, and had grown to support that production. And that's what the tumor was, and it had gotten big enough that it had filled like the sinus cavities in one of my eyes.
Wow.
Which is where my pain was coming from.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't WebMD this. What's
right.
Right? Like, I'd already come to terms like what's going on with this.
Right.
And they told me, like, just sitting there like, well, treatment is a medication. We're gonna prescribe you something. You'll probably take it, half a pill every other day or something like that. And then it should go away. She goes, for 99% of people, like that's all the treatment that's required. And like after being at 75, I'm like, well, 99. That's
right.
That's wonderful, right?
Right.
And like the roller coaster of going from like brain surgery to I've got to take, a small pill every morning with my breakfast, was interesting, because like it was still like there's like that relief there of that, like it's not as bad as we thought it was.
Right.
But there's also the like thought in the back of your head, like, well, there's something there, right? Like, and I wasn't that week where I thought I was at the 75%, like I wasn't prepared, right? So now in your mind, you're like, oh my God, what would happen like if something else happened, And it was a tough time. And we're still, this was a year ago last week. So I think this will probably air in a couple of weeks. So yeah, it was like the middle of September. And a year later, we're still kind of dealing with a lot of the side effects of it. And, it's been a pretty major change like to our life and those types of things. And, it's just it's amazing how quick like your life can change, like just like that.
So, okay. So you find out 75, you have a bad week, you find out it's 99.
Yeah.
What was it
and
like?
Then,
go ahead.
Well, then, now we can fast forward a year later.
Right.
I take a half a pill. Like it's I don't know. It's like the size of a nerd. If you ever had nerd candy.
Yep.
And I take that in the morning, and for all intents and purposes, like the tumor's gone. My levels are normalizing. Like I'm almost back to as normal of a life as we can in 2021.
Good. So you have that big swing from 75% to 99%. You're thinking about, okay, do I need to get things ready for my son? And going like, I got to take a pill. What was it like for you? So you find out 99, you're like, You're feeling a lot better. What was it like the very next time you got online? What was that time you got on the very next time you signed in Destiny 2? Maybe you're solo, maybe you're gonna be with friends, whatever. What was that moment like?
That's a really good question. It, it felt good, right? Like, obviously, once we found out, like, I processed with my family and, talked to told my parents and everything like that. And then, I went into our clan Discord and I was like, yo, so I went to the doctor today and, and obviously everybody's excited,
Yep.
right? Because it's like, it's not as bad as we thought. Like, everything's most likely going to be okay. Like, this is great, right? And then I don't even remember playing, right? Like, because, like, for me, gaming is very much my chance to, like, zone out of what's going around me.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's healthy or not, I haven't decided yet.
Eh.
But, like, if I have a really bad day, or the side effects of my medicine are getting to me and I'm feeling like crap, or I had a bad day at work, like, for the 2 hours that I log in and play Destiny, right, like, I'm mad at Destiny, I'm not mad at those things,
Right.
and yeah, there's that sudden rush back, like, as soon as you log back off and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, I gotta do that tomorrow. But, like, for those, like, 2 hours, it's just, I'm just playing Destiny, right? Like, I'm not thinking about any of those things. So I would imagine that's a lot of what it was, right? Like, I had kind of like my happy announcement, like,
Mm-hmm.
letting everybody know that everything's gonna be okay, and everybody was like cheering, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
And then, like, that night was like, okay, let's just forget about all of that for now,
Right.
right? Like, it's been a roller coaster for the past 7 days, and let's just play some Destiny. There's some kids that gotta get whooped up on in this Gambit tournament, so we gotta figure out how to do that.
Exactly, right? and see, I mean, I guess that speaks to the value of gaming, is that, I got some business to handle on Destiny 2, and when I'm done with that, I'll go back to reality.
Right.
And so I guess from that point forward, has streaming on Twitch, has gaming in general changed for you from that standpoint of, I had that issue and now it's gone, and I use this to escape. But I mean, has playing Destiny 2, or, doesn't matter the game, doesn't matter what you play, whether it's by yourself or with your son, has your perception of gaming changed?
1000%. Absolutely. In fact, one of my friends said, because I'm pretty sure the night I got the diagnosis, or the night after I got the first diagnosis, the 75%, I streamed. And one of my buddies DM'd me, and he goes, I don't know how you're doing it. He goes, if I was you and I got that news, he goes, I wouldn't be doing anything.
Right.
And, like, my response was like, I don't know how to do anything else. Right? Like, this is what I do. Right? Like, this is part of my routine, and, like, to throw out, like, the routine feels comfortable, right? It was like the only thing at that time that felt comfortable, right? So settling into routine, like, kind of helped to kind of, like, keep some normalcy in, like, this, crazy time that's going on.
Sure.
But yeah, and I would say that since then, I wouldn't say that streaming and content creation has taken a backseat, because it's still, I'm still on Twitter, I'm still posting clips, I'm still streaming, I'm still making stuff for YouTube.
Right.
But, like, I'm not as, like, hard on myself about it, right? Like, when numbers dip, I just go, huh, all right, whatever. Or, like, if I'm having a bad day, like, sometimes I'll just, right, all the streamers are gonna just, like, cringe when I say this, I'll just, like, log in and play Destiny without streaming.
Right.
Right? Or, like, hop in with friends and just, like, do strikes without streaming, right? Like understanding that streaming is something that I do and I enjoy it, and I enjoy conversing with people, I enjoy building communities, I enjoy making people smile, I enjoy making people happy, and, like that's why I'm gonna continue doing it. But like, you're not gonna be a career streamer, right? There's no way, because like between my job and my son, and going back to that whole like not taking time away from my family just to make more money to spend time with my family, right? Like,
Right.
I don't have the lifestyle right now to put in what is required to get to that level to be like a full-time creator. But I can still stream and make content and maybe make, a few people laugh, every day.
Right.
And if I can do that, then I'm doing the right thing.
Speaking
And
of,
I always
go
it's
ahead.
funny. Well, it's funny because I always said, like, when I started streaming, like, all I wanted was to be one of those streamers that like could say, "Hey, who wants to raid?" and have like a whole bunch of people, like, have a community that wants to raid all the time. And like, even though it didn't necessarily happen like through my channel, it kind of happened organically. Like, have that now, right? Like, New in Town always has people raiding. Like, I can find raids. Like, I raid all the time, and like stepping back and looking at those types of goals and like those types of successes versus, oh, well, I didn't get a Twitch payout this month. Okay, but I did 500 raids and I, Sherpa'd 16 people through their first vault of glass last week. Like those types of successes, like building community, building friendships, like those have become a lot more important than worrying about numbers and making sure I'm playing the right game at the right time.
And I also want to get into what this has meant, how this has helped your marriage, because your wife is a huge part of this, and if she did not support you streaming, if she did not support you doing these things that you do, you wouldn't be doing or I should say you wouldn't be doing it, or you'd be divorced and doing it, right?
Right. And I've been around streaming long enough to see both of those things happen to people.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've seen streaming and that addiction to the grind like ruin marriages, and people get divorced. And I've seen other people that like they can't balance the streaming and family, and they choose family. And I mean, to me, that's the right decision.
Yeah.
But like, and streaming goes away, and they do the family thing, and utmost respect for that. I think the key for us was like when I started streaming, we kind of set boundaries.
Okay.
Right. And like built an actual schedule of like, this is the times that I'm going to stream. And right, we knew that like at that time I was going to go downstairs or, into the office, wherever it was, and I'm going to stream. And then when this time hits, I'm going to hop off. I'm going to come out. We're going to watch some TV, hang out for a little bit before bed. Right.
Right.
And while I think that makes it tougher to have enough time to do all of the things that you want to do as a creator to be big and famous.
Right.
I think it's made it so that streaming has been sustainable for me as a hobby, even if it's not sustainable as a full-time career. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, and I think that statement right there shows the value of it shows the value of having a mature outlook on your life. You have things that are important to you that aren't gaming and aren't streaming, and your wife and your kid are important enough to you that you'd be like, okay, I will carve out this 2.5, 3 hour period where I will stream. And when I am done, it will be off, turn everything off. And now I'm going to shift my focus. I'm going to spend time with my kid, spend time with my wife, because those things are also important to me.
Right.
And I think that is the kind of perspective that only comes with age, because it is next to impossible for me to impress upon somebody who only has the stars in their eyes from Twitch to understand. Right. You can grind as much as you want. You're going to get lonely. You're going to get tired. You're going to turn into Ninja. Have you looked at Ninja's face lately? The guy is burned out, but this is the only thing he knows how to do. And, and I think, I mean, for myself, I'm almost 50. And there is no way, no freaking way. I'm gonna.
You don't look a day over 45.
You know, brother, I can always count on you to come in strong. I can always count on you. But I think that's the old. It's that perspective of that comes with age and realizing, okay, you know, yes, streaming is a thing, and you know, making content and getting paid for, you know, what you create online, that's a thing. But that is a young person's game. That they have no attachments. They don't have a house. You know, they don't have to deal with having a brain tumor. You know, they don't have that stuff. You know.
I think the traditional methodology of being successful on Twitch was definitely the young person's game, right?
Yeah.
Like I always thought back of like, man, because I'm of the age that like when I was in college was when Twitch was still Justin TV. Like it was Justin TV was where I went to get like pay-per-view fights that I couldn't see back in the day, right?
Yep, exactly.
Like, right. But like I think back of like, man, if I had gotten into this in college, right, and you know I was at the forefront of Twitch, right, and I was streaming, and I had all this time to stream and this and that, like where would I be today? But then like you think about it like that, like the maturity on like how to build a schedule and like how to take care of yourself while you're doing it is an old person's game.
Yep.
Right. That's why we're so successful at it. And I don't know if when I was that young, if I would have been able to do those things, right? So it still wouldn't have been a sustainable career.
Right.
So just how I said, like, you know, being limited because, you know, there's only so much time in the day makes it not a sustainable career. I think, you know, being young and not able to make those like rational adjustments, it makes it not sustainable as a career too. Like there's got to be somewhere in between those two.
So, okay. So I think you touched on this briefly. What's the current condition of your tumor?
So I get MRIs like every 6 months now. As of I believe about 6 months ago, it was back down to normal size. Everything was good. The only major side effect that I know of so far is that since it had grown so big, it had destroyed other parts of the pituitary gland.
Okay.
So now I have you know a little bit more medicines that I have to take because those parts don't create the hormones that your body needs anymore.
Okay.
So I'm on more meds, and it's one of those situations where like I'm only 34 and I've already got like the pill calendar that like my grandmother used to have that tells me which pills I have to take each day.
Yep.
But I mean, it is what it is, right? Like I'm like I said when we first started this call, like I'm still above ground. So
yeah, exactly. So what is it in this moment that keeps you motivated to keep streaming and to keep playing Destiny 2?
This is gonna sound like the most stereotypical streamer answer, but it's like it's so true, right? Like it's my community, right? Like it's my clan, you know, because like that server that you see today that is bustling with people playing Destiny.
Yep.
Was our old clan's Discord PC server when Destiny 2 first came out and everybody got split from Xbox and PC. And it had been dead for several years. Like we used it to store memes or, you know, random stuff and things like that.
Right.
And then it was when Shadowkeep came out, we wanted to do World's First, or not World's First, but Day One Garden of Salvation.
Yep.
And I said, hey, I got this Discord server, like we can use it to plan stuff and share information and that. And then once we did that, like more people wanted to come in and learn how to do Garden of Salvation, and that's how the LFG got set up. And like it's just grown from there. And like I don't even know what the numbers are now, but like I'm just looking at the member list now, and there's over 100 people just online. And like that's insane to me. And like I said, like having the people around you that are good people that enjoy the same things that you enjoy, and you know that when new content comes out for Destiny, you're going to be able to enjoy it because you've got people to enjoy it there with.
Right.
And then like also being able to provide that to more people. Like we have several people in the Discord right now that have like just started playing Destiny in like the last couple of months.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, like one of them started, I think like 3 or 4 weeks ago,
Wow.
and is still leveling up and power grinding and things like that.
Wow.
And then like another one started I think a month before that, and she just did her first VOG last night, and she was Sherpa'd by somebody that I had Sherpa'd last season. Right? So like
That's
I taught
awesome.
somebody like how to raid, and then like they went and taught a brand new Guardian how to raid. Like it's so cool. Like, and that's the type of stuff that like keeps me going. Like that's the part that's like I think still most important to me in terms of like content creation is like
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring more people into this group, into this community, so that more people can experience Destiny completely, right? And I think that like a lot of people are struggling with the solo experience of Destiny, and they miss
Yeah.
out on a lot of really great content.
Yeah, yeah. And now probably for the most important question that I could maybe ask, because I'm a dad too. Of this entire process that you've gone through, what does your son know?
He knows quite a bit.
Okay.
He knows quite a bit. We kind of struggled with it at first, like, how do you explain it to, he was 3 at the time, like how do you explain it to him?
Right.
But like, he doesn't know like scientifically specific, but like
Sure.
he knows that daddy had a brain boo-boo, and daddy takes a bunch of medicine now, and daddy's medicine sometimes makes him feel like sometimes makes him angry, sometimes makes him, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he understands all of that. And he, I don't know that I don't know that he was old enough to like understand like the severity of it,
Right.
or like the severity of where we thought it was. But he's a smart little cookie.
Yeah.
Right? Like he knew something was going on, right? And I definitely like that 75% week. I definitely got a lot of little buddy cuddles on the couch, because he knew that
Yeah.
he knew that daddy wasn't doing too good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I don't think that we need to. I don't think as parents we need to hide things from our kids. I think we need to be. I think we need to be honest with them to the point that they understand. To the point that they understand. Just be like, hey, buddy, look, Dad doesn't feel too good right now. I have a thing inside my head. I'm gonna be taking a bunch of pills. And that, honestly, that's all he needs to know. He just needs to know, because he loves you, and he's like, Dad, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And as long as you're straight with him, and say, look, this is what's going on with me, and I'm sorry, and you're like, okay, Dad, I love you, and you're like, okay, I'll be fine, right?
right. Like as soon as you hear that, like everything's gone. Like you're fine. There's nothing wrong with me anymore.
Nope.
My kid loves me. Like what else do I need?
Right.
But no, it's like it's kind of cool, because like I can explain to him like today is not a day that I'm gonna be able to get down on the floor and play trucks, but hey, we could fire up the Xbox and play Farming Simulator and drive trucks around.
Right.
And so we find ways to bond and stay connected. We're best buds, at least for now, until it goes up.
Right, and then when he hits about 13, it'll change. Trust me.
Yeah, I got a few more years for that, so I'm gonna soak it up while I can.
Soak it up while you can.
Now, he's getting old enough to like enjoy like games, and like he's smart. He picks up games so freaking quick, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna kick my butt like any day now. Because we started so I bought a Series X because he was showing interest in like video games. I had an old like Xbox One, and like it worked, but it was slow. So I bought us a Series X and Game Pass. And we started playing, and the Xbox was really nice because they offer co-pilot, so you can have 2 controllers, right? So each person has a controller. But with co-pilot, they both input to like the same thing, right? So even with a 1-player game, like we would play Ori and the Blind Forest, and he would do all of like the shooting and the fighting, and I would do the moving and the jumping, and we each had our own controller, and we could play that way, and it made it a lot more accessible for him.
Wow.
But now, like, I don't know if you've ever played any of the Farm Simulator games, but there's like a lot of controls.
Okay.
this kid's got him down, right? He knows he knows like all the farming equipment. He's like, yeah, Dad, that's a cultivator and that's a harvester. He goes, they're pulling the header back behind the trailer. I'm like, what? How do you know all this? But it's been really cool to bond, and I got the opportunity to make his first Destiny character with him a couple weeks ago, and that was a nice moment to share.
Yeah, and this goes back to what I said at the start. Gaming brings us together. It builds bridges across generations. I know for a fact. When I took my son to a TwitchCon down in San Francisco, I took my son was a senior in high school, and he's going to do his senior project on streaming. And I said, tell you what, for your graduation present, I'll take you to TwitchCon. I will pay for it. I'll get the hotel, flight. I'll pay for everything. I'll take you down there. And I will always remember that, going to TwitchCon with my son. The whole reason I played Destiny 2 is because of my son. My son said, Dad, there's this game, Destiny 2. It's currently for free to play. I said, oh, okay. And when he said, and I'll play it with you, I signed up right then. Like, that's all I needed. Dude, I am there.
Listen. So he got into Farming Simulator because obviously when you start the Xbox up, Game Pass pops up and it shows you all the games that are on Game Pass.
Right.
And he saw tractors and he's like, Dad, I want to drive tractors. So I'm like, all right. So I downloaded it on the Xbox. We started playing. And like, there's no tutorial or anything like that. It just throws you in there and lets you play.
Boom.
So he got into it. He loved it. He wanted to do all these things. Like he wanted to plant wheat. He wanted to plant corn and this and that. Right. So he would go to bed. I would come downstairs to the office. I installed Farming Simulator on my computer so that I could watch YouTube tutorials on how to do all this stuff. Learn how to do it so the next day when we played, I could show him and be like, yo, buddy, check this out, right? And we're doing like lumberjack stuff and harvesting corn and this and that. He's like, oh, this is so cool. And then I would go down and learn something new the next night.
Right.
So yeah, oh man, when your kids want to play games with you, there's nothing gonna stop you.
There isn't anything like it, and I have a bond with my son that is just it's going to last for the rest of our lives. It's one of those things that I have often turned to those memories when I'm having a rough time and I'm struggling, and I just remember how happy my son was to go to TwitchCon. He met this streamer. I literally, when I took him, I had no idea what Twitch was. Zero concept of what Twitch was. My son's like, I want to go. I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's do it. I don't know what I'm getting into, but let's do it.
All I gotta say.
And then we met this streamer. He had me buy some shirt. I forget what it was. I think I've thrown away the shirt by now or whatever. But we bought this shirt, and you buy this shirt, and it supported him going down, and it got you into this special meet and greet.
Oh, okay.
Got you for this streamer. And I walk up there, my son and I are wearing these shirts, and I start talking with the guy, and he goes, why are you here? I was like, well, I wanted my son to, he talks about you. I have no idea who the hell you are, but my son talks about you, and that's important to me, and I want my son to know he can do anything he freaking wants. I don't care what it is. Be happy, do what you love. And the guy looked at me and is like, I wish there were more parents like you. I'm like, I just want my kid to be happy, and he spends time with me, and in the end, that's all that matters to me. Is if my kid wants to be around me and is happy and we do things together, that's it. That's
the dream.
That's all. Oh, whew, all the feels today, my man.
Right.
Well, Rock, I gotta say, man, I did not expect you to. I did not expect you to agree to come on my podcast. I didn't think that you wanted to talk about this.
Listen, so I used when I was on Mixer, I had a weekly podcast where I was taking people from that One of Us community that I told you about.
Yep.
I would pull people out of the community that I see were making impacts in the community, and I would do kind of this same thing, right? That you just did with me. And I always thought it was really cool to give people like an opportunity to tell their story, like in a new format. And I loved podcasting. I absolutely loved podcasting. It was just one of those things that, like, as life got busier, that was one of the things that got cut to make, my hobby more sustainable.
Right.
And I love podcasting. I really do. I think this is a really great format. And like I don't think I've ever turned down a podcast opportunity, man. I love them.
Awesome.
Well,
Rock,
thank you for asking me. I'm honored.
hey, you're like I said, we've never met in real life, but you are a friend. You are enough of a friend that you're enough of a friend that I sent you jam. I sent you jam. I know. Wasn't it? I mean, and so I told my wife, I go, I want to send a couple jars of jam to this friend of mine. And she goes, where does he live? New York. And he's like, how the hell did you meet this guy? He's like, well, and I told the story. She's like,
do you know? Because the first shipment of jam, you sent me a Bill the Conqueror t-shirt.
Yes.
That is the only streamer t-shirt I have.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Other than my own.
Well, right.
How lame is that?
Wow. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, yeah. It's the only streamer t-shirt I have.
Dude, all the feels today. All the feels. Thanks.
Yeah.
Rock, you're awesome. And thank you for making time for me, Dave. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me. Honestly, this was a treat. This was a very nice break from the masochism trials this weekend.
Dude, trials. Don't even get me started on trials, Osiris. But hey, if you want to follow RocCity Roller, the information's right there on the screen for you. Twitch.tv/RocCity Roller, at RocCity Roller 1 on Twitter. Is there anything else that you do? YouTube?
RocCity Roller TV on YouTube.
RocCity Roller TV. Check out the man. Definitely. Here's the thing: if you think you can keep up with my jam, send him something, and we'll just
yeah,
we'll compare it all. Right?
Listen, I'm not the judge. Okay, you guys gotta get it past Pebble.
Right.
He has a very particular palate. Nobody understands it, but you can give it a shot.
You can give it a shot. I certainly hope that you do. Rock, thank you very much for making time for me today, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, please do like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff for the YouTube channel. Check out GBIRL.com. You'll see some audio episodes that have been previously posted to YouTube, plus GBIRL Raw, the more uncensored, not suitable for work, unscripted version of this that I do. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in today. You can find links to everyone on the show in the description below. Check out Bill the Conqueror on Twitch and Twitter to stay up to date on his thoughts and ideas about gaming culture.